What's up, everybody? This is Age. Now, last week a bombshell exploded that resulted in a lot of commotion, and this time around it is pretty warranted, it is pretty huge, it's a pretty big hit, and it's caused a lot of disappointment and just a lot of concern in the community. And of course, I'm talking about the new legendary precursor journeys being indefinitely suspended. Now, for those who don't know, ArenaNet president and temporary game director Mike O'Brien got on the forums last Friday and dropped the news that after the release of the legendary short bow Chuka and Chambawat in April, all of the work on the new legendary weapons will be indefinitely suspended. The team that worked on this content will be shifted back to work on living world style content. Alright. So first off, let's talk about the word indefinitely. It has two meanings: for an unlimited period of time or an unspecified period of time. So yes, there's a chance that the weapons are cancelled, but there's also a chance that they'll work on them later. But I wouldn't expect anything extra this year in terms of legendary weapons. Another thing I have a problem with is that O'Brien referenced the Guild Wars 2 design manifesto that came out in 2010. That was probably a bad move, mostly because it allows players to reference the Guild Wars 2 blog post concerning legendary weapons and the suspension. So the most notable one I've seen was the Looking Ahead Guild Wars 2 2013 post. It said in the legendary gear and precursor section, "What I can say to you is you will see a specific way to build precursor items on your way to a legendary. On top of this, you'll also see new legendary weapons and new types of legendary gear in 2013. Yeah, we didn't see any of that in 2013 whatsoever, but the post also said near the end, as always, the content above is subject to change as we test and iterate on these systems. Now, there's also another blog post titled Hot, not Heart or Thorns hot, I mean like hot as in humid hot, new legendary weapons. That was made shortly before the release of Heart of Thorns that says, "We will be releasing new legendary weapons in small groups at regular intervals until the full set of 16 has been added to the game." Note that they said game, not expansion, which leaves room for a huge timetable to release them all, although I feel many players thought that it was heavily implied that the legendaries would be regularly released within a reasonable amount of time after release of Heart of Thorns, given that we probably thought that all the legendaries would be in the game at release. And I think that's a pretty fair assessment to make given all the information we have. And I'm not saying one way or the other ArenaNet's right or people are right, I'm just saying this is what I see. Alright, so enough about wording and such, let me talk a bit about what I think of the news. If there were two words to describe the situation, it'd be disappointment and concern. So let's do the disappointment part first. Despite the format of releasing new legendaries, I believe it's not unfair to say that the goal was to have 16 new legendaries and their journeys in the game within a reasonable amount of time. Let's say after a year the expansion was released, all 16 legendary weapons are supposed to be in the game. That's kind of the example I'll give. Now, with only one new legendary journey coming out after the newest first 3 journeys, you can obviously see ArenaNet can't deliver on this promise, at least not right now. It could be really irritating for players that considering that legendaries could be their specific endgame, or players have been waiting months to craft their legendary shield or greatsword and have been holding out just to see what the new ones look like. It really sucks for them, and they have to take a hit in order for Living Story to come out faster or to come out on time. And that's kind of the concern now. Let's go to concern now. I think this is the first time in all my years playing Guild Wars 2 I've been truly concerned about the development process. It's been 5 months since the release of Heart of Thorns. Now let's say they had a month off, Christmas and all, so 4 months of development on new legendary weapons and their journeys. You'd think ArenaNet would have a good understanding of the time and resources needed to make legendary journeys at a reasonable pace. They did give journeys to all the original legendary weapons, and we did get 3 new legendary journeys. Buggy or not, that's what happened. However, there could have been issues within those 4 months that hindered progress, like communication between teams, tech problems, or probably most significantly working on hot bugs on the side, especially the legendary journey ones. On the flip side, if the legendary weapons team did in fact spend their all their time making the new journeys, then it brings up the issue of them not performing, because one precursor after 4 months is kind of not good. I know there's a lot that goes into making the journey, such as connecting events and NPCs to the collections, making new items, developing the lore background of the weapon, and so on. But again, I feel like Arena should have had a good understanding of how fast this process would take on a regular basis. Maybe they overestimated themselves. If this is the case, I can't really say, I can just speculate. Now, staying on the concern train of thought, I have to ask, why is this team now going to work on Living World content? Is this content behind if the Legendary Weapons team doesn't help? Is it to speed up the timetable of Living Story Season 3 because there's a lack of content in PvE? I can only speculate at this point, since O'Brien said this team of developers will instead shift their efforts back to Living World style content. But those 2 points were the first thing that popped in my head, and quite honestly scare me, as it's the more important issue that comes out of the forum post that Michael Bryan did. There's also mention of work on the expansion 2, which makes me ask, shouldn't most of the issues in the first expansion be fixed and evaluated with the feedback from the community before working on another expansion? The reason I say this is that there are a lot of issues right now in every mode of Guild Wars 2. Some of these issues might be mirrored into the next expansion, which is just overhead to fix once fixing the Heart of Thorns, which means more wasted time in development. But I can't really say anything concrete on the matter, because the work on the next expansion could just be foundation work, which could be very bare bones minimum. In the end, I do like the transparency, and I'm glad that Michael Bryan did come out and say Arena can't do legendary journeys for now. It's a sad thing to happen, but Living World hits a much bigger audience than people who want to make legendaries. I feel like the timing and phrasing for this news could have been better though. The April quarterly patch is just around the corner, and after all, that could have resulted in less of a blowback. This news does, however, bring up concerns about how resources are being managed right now, seeing that all these issues and delays on features. It's always important to keep in mind that people are mad, disappointed, or concerned because they love Guild Wars 2. Seeing this one forum post about indefinitely suspending work on unexpected content raises a lot of questions, and all I know is that something's gotta change. Anyway, this has been Age. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, I appreciate thumbs up. And if you have any comments about this, do leave a comment below. I'd love to hear people's thoughts about this. Anyway guys, that's all from me. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time. Peace.